Every time I hugged my daughter, she would instinctively pull away. I always thought she was just introverted, but then one day, I accidentally heard her inner thoughts. She was struggling over whether to tell me that her sister always hit her. Hearing that, I froze in shock. I never expected that every time I was away on a business trip, my adopted daughter had been bullying my real daughter. Just as I was about to confront her, my daughter spoke again in her mind, saying she was killed in her past life while I was away on a trip. Before I could process it, my husband impatiently urged me to leave, saying we'd miss the flight if I didn't go. Without a word, I slapped him across the face, no matter what. I was staying with my daughter today. 6 years ago, during childbirth, my biological daughter and adopted one were accidentally switched. I only brought my real daughter home half a year ago, since her return. My husband had treated her with care, but why did she say in her heart that he didn't like her? Was all of his affection just a show? To avoid suspicion, I still got ready to send her to school, but when I went to pack her bag, the adopted daughter suddenly stormed in and shoved my daughter to the floor, furious. I rushed downstairs to stop her, but before I could speak, the adopted daughter played the victim, accusing my daughter of hitting her. She then ran off crying before I could say a word. My daughter kept apologizing. I comforted her, telling her it was not her fault, that it was her sister who was in the wrong. I said I'd go upstairs and talk to her. I naively believed that the adopted daughter was just jealous, afraid of losing favor. But when I reached her door, I overheard her cursing me, saying how dare I yell at her for some nobody. And once I left for my trip, she would definitely teach my daughter a lesson. Only then did I realize the girl I had spoiled for years was hiding such malice just then. My daughter timidly ran over and begged, asking if she could skip school today. I gently asked why. She didn't want to make me angry, so she only spoke in her heart, saying her sister was so angry today. She would surely punish her once they got to school. Hearing that made me even angrier. Back when I brought my real daughter home, I kept the adopted daughter out of pity, but I never imagined she had been bullying my daughter all this time. I immediately called the nanny and kicked the adopted daughter's door open in rage. She had never seen me this angry and started trembling with fear. I ordered the nanny to send her to the orphanage, but instead of following my orders, the nanny scolded me, calling me cruel and claiming the adopted girl was smart and had a bright future. Unlike my daughter, who was timid and useless, hearing her insolence, I slapped her without hesitation. I told her either she took the adopted daughter away or they both got out. The nanny sneered, saying she was hired by my husband and I had no right to fire her. I chuckled coldly. No wonder she was so arrogant. My spineless husband had her back. I'd been too kind all this time, and they forgot who really ran this house. I called the bodyguards and had her thrown out of the villa. From this day on, no one would ever bully my daughter again. Then I took my daughter to school, but the principal told me my daughter's name wasn't on the enrollment list. I was shocked because on the first day of school, I asked my husband to enroll both girls and even gave 20% of our company's shares to them as a gift. But the principal smirked, saying he knew about the shares, but the boss only said the shares were for the adopted daughter. He told me to stop dreaming, that the school was invested by the boss, and I was just a housewife. He said I had no right to ask for shares over some illegitimate child. I raised my hand and slapped him. This school was built for my daughter. How dare he insult her, seeing I wasn't to be messed with. He quickly called the boss, but before my husband could speak, I slapped him too, demanding why he didn't enroll our daughter. He claimed he was afraid our daughter wouldn't adapt to an elite school, and wanted her to attend a regular one first. I warned him to remember his place. My daughter was the company's only heir. She didn't need to adapt to anything, and if the school wasn't good enough for her, I would shut it down. Seeing boss humiliated, the principal jumped in, mocking me for acting so arrogant as just a mistress. My husband panicked and kicked the principal to the ground, telling him to shut his mouth. Their reaction made me suspicious. I had never visited the school before, but how could the principal so confidently call me a mistress? My husband feared his secrets would be exposed. He quickly explained that he gave the adopted daughter shares out of pity, because no one else in the world loved her. But at that moment, my daughter gently mocked in her heart, saying her sister wasn't unloved. She still had a beautiful auntie mom.
Suddenly, the female CEO heard her youngest daughter's thoughts, only to find that her husband not only had a secret lover, but also that the adopted daughter she had raised for years was actually his illegitimate daughter. Furious, she immediately prepared to ask her secretary to investigate everything thoroughly. In a panic, her husband suddenly snatched the phone and smashed it to the ground. He said their 3 sons loved the adopted daughter very much and this would make the 3 sons hate her, using this to threaten her not to continue the investigation. But she became even more furious after hearing this and immediately smashed the water glass he handed her over his head. Just then the 3 sons arrived and happened to see the scene. The man immediately resorted to to a sympathy ploy, dropping to his knees. He not only admitted to cheating but also confessed that the adopted daughter was his illegitimate daughter, trying to make it look like he was enduring grievances to keep the peace while she was being unreasonable. Sure enough, seeing their father's humble appearance, the three sons helped him up with distress. They thought their mother had been misled by their youngest sister, so they wanted to forcibly take their mother home. But at that moment, the mother heard her daughter's thoughts again. It turned out that her three elder brothers had always been on the adopted daughter's side. When the youngest daughter was locked in the room by the adopted daughter for several days and told them the truth, no one was willing to believe her. Everyone stood by the adopted daughter. Heartbroken for her daughter, the female CEO immediately shouted at her three sons. Seeing her mother being hurt, the youngest daughter quickly stood in front of her mother and even said she was willing to go home and apologize to the adopted daughter. But the elder brothers thought the youngest sister was still acting and pushed her to the ground in one swift move. This made the female CEO even angrier, but the three sons casually said that everything needed evidence. Just then, the youngest daughter held up her smartwatch high and shouted, "I can prove Dad is a bad guy." To protect her injured mom, the little girl bravely stepped in front of her, but the thin child was quickly pushed to the ground. Yet facing the much stronger adults, she didn't back down in fear. Instead, she held high the smartwatch her mom had bought her and said, "I have evidence here that proves Mom is telling the truth," because the little girl was a reborn soul. And after she was reborn, her mom suddenly realized she could hear her daughter's thoughts. That was when she learned the daughter she'd finally found was actually the result of her husband swapping her biological daughter with someone else's child years ago. At the same time, she also found out from her daughter's thoughts that her husband had been hiding a secret lover all along. What is more, this secret lover had been bullying her daughter behind her back. As his secret was about to be exposed, the husband desperately resorted to a sympathy ploy. This made their three sons think their mom had been misled by their little sister and was just being unreasonable. They even demanded their mom provide evidence or they would send the malicious little girl to foster care. Just as the woman was caught in a dilemma, no one could have imagined that a 6-year-old child would pull out the video of her husband's swap from years ago, along with the paternity DNA test report between the adopted daughter and her father. But when the husband saw the evidence, he started arguing frantically. He said a 6-year-old child couldn't possibly have the ability to find the video or get a DNA test done. These must be fake, he claimed. His words immediately made people doubt the authenticity of the evidence.